Good morning, everyone. I'm John O'Loughlin. Welcome to McDuff Lives, and it's a McDuff Lives Friday live chat with Marcia. Hello, Marcia.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining us. A lot on our plate this morning, so you
Been
all
quite
are.
a week.
But whatever is on your mind, you can put it up in the chat, and we will try for the very first time to get to everybody. And our first comment comes from our good friend, Kevin Timmer. Good morning, Kevin. Thank you so much for all you do for our freedom, and it's great to have you with us.
Good morning, Kevin.
Well, I think we can pretty easily find a place to start. How about, well, I guess we could do the three amigos.
The three amigos.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's been an interesting week for them.
And as I see them right now, they are three very powerful blows against the empire. And I think the empire is running very scared. And I think it is reflected in the insane, almost rabid dog attacks on them that come from the senators opposed to them.
Right.
The idea that they are going to leave their usual role of being the competent, reasonable arbiter of truth and justice to become attack dogs. That's a big risk for them politically, and it's a symptom of their actually being attack dogs for somebody else who holds the leash.
Right. Kind of makes you wonder, do they sit around in some back room somewhere or even in the cloakroom and say, okay, this time you be the attack dog?
David Cramner Underdown is here. Good morning, David. Sorry again about the Detroit Lions, but we had our own little disappointment last week.
Yeah, you got us back.
Oh, gosh, Philadelphia. And they just dominated that game. It was ridiculous. You know, I have kind of adopted the idea of rooting for the home team, which is something I haven't done in a long time because I was just disenchanted with everything as far as after college and then getting into law school. And all I wanted to do was spend my spare time playing music and, chasing after dances and gigs and social stuff. I did not really follow sports at all. As a matter of fact, I was kind of on strike against professional sports for maybe 30 years or so. But, you started watching the Commanders as they started their big streak.
This year. Yeah, they've had a good year.
And I kind of got enchanted with that young quarterback and the incredible plays that they were pulling off.
So, he's been so exciting to watch. Here we go with my throat again. Excuse me.
So anyway, I thought, why not? Why not become a football fan again? I mean, it's just a way to be participating in our community,
in the community, exactly,
in our culture. Have something to talk about when you go to the store, that kind of thing. It's not completely comfortable with me because of the corruption and the everything that's behind the big money in football, but nevertheless, just to watch it, just to say I'm not going to look behind the curtain on this. I'm just going to enjoy the show.
Yeah, and I agree with you with the corruption with the NFL simply because the NFL is a nonprofit. Yeah. So they get all that nonprofit status and tax exempt status, and everybody associated with the NFL is making like gajillions of dollars.
And it's a monopoly.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. What does that tell you? It's all part of the big narrative. But the narrative that I think is where the empire is afraid right now, because they've got three big narratives at stake in these three different hearings. And so the first one is their narrative about vaccines and health,
Right.
which is at stake if Bobby gets confirmed.
Right.
The second one is their narrative about CIA and Al Qaeda and their foreign engagement, under what has up to now been called plausible deniability. But she's spilling the beans on a lot of stuff, especially this horrible revolution in Syria, which is tied to Al Qaeda. Well, that's a narrative that she's going to take down if she's confirmed. And then Kash Patel, J6. Their narrative of J6 is in big trouble if Kash Patel gets confirmed. And I think it may be in big trouble anyway, but these guys are like, trying to keep their fingers in the dike like the little Dutch boy.
Right.
And
running out of fingers.
Yeah, exactly. So it's exciting. I'm very excited about it.
Yeah, it's interesting. It is fascinating to me to see how desperately these senators want to protect the narrative to the point of being inappropriate, I think, in a lot of ways. I mean, we can identify, a number of times in the last few days when there's been inappropriate behavior. But as you and I have talked about, to me, I am horrified at how badly they're treating Bobby Kennedy Jr. and taking advantage of his physical inability to speak quickly and how he struggles. And they take advantage of that. They will ask him a question and he's struggling to get the words out, and they interrupt him and they cut him off and they move on. And it's horrible. It's terribly, terribly inappropriate.
You're the first person that pointed that out to me. And once I saw that, I said, wow, because that's what they're doing. Like Mark Warner, that attack dog from Virginia. Mark Warner, he is deep Democratic, deep state. And, the whole Virginia Democratic delegation has always been, well, he was going after Bobby in exactly the way you describe it. In other words, Bobby, he has a bit of a hesitation before his first word comes out.
Right.
And that is because of his permanent disability from an illness that happened a long time ago.
It's a neurological condition called spasmodic, I want to say dysphoria, but it causes his voice box muscles to freeze up, and he has to really struggle to speak. And it's a very rare condition. I didn't realize how rare it was, because there is a local radio host who also suffers from it that we, that stayed on the air and struggled with her speech. But Bobby has that, and he struggles to get his words out. It's like trying to race somebody in a wheelchair, saying, "Oh, look, I'm faster than you are." It's terrible.
That's an amazing image.
But that's really what these jerks are doing, because the man is trying to explain something that he said, and instead of allowing him to explain, because he can't forcefully put it out there, they cut him off.
Yeah, or they'll just say, yes or no, and he starts to explain, and it's so it's no then, and then they move on and say, nope, that's it. This is my time.
Right.
Sheldon Whitehouse with.
Oh, really?
Oh my God, Sheldon Whitehouse, that guy just cracks me up. Oh, there is nobody deeper than Sheldon Whitehouse in the doo-doo. Oh my God.
Yeah, well, his as we have studied, his associations go back generations.
Yeah, where do you think the name Sheldon comes from? And have anything to do with Prescott Sheldon Bush. Well,
lot of comments we have here.
yeah. Let's see, Monster. I'm not sure. I catch the nephew and David. You're too cryptic. What about bird? Which bird? Dry hole bird or hairy bird or Robert F. Bird? There's a lot of birds out there, and none of them are ospreys.
Not a one is protecting the nest.
No, they don't. They're the ones that attack us and try to take our nest down.
That's right.
Yeah, those damn Virginia birds and the Texas birds. They're all for the birds. Let's see. Deep state is the dam. Common sense is the water. Oh my God, I love that.
Corky. I do too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's like the yeah. That's right, Corky. I like it. Amazing to see senators still shilling for you know what.
Mm-hmm.
And we're not going to say so because we're on YouTube, but
yeah.
Most folks are aware that my primary goal for the past year and a half now has been to bring folks from YouTube over to my Rumble channel, because on Rumble I don't get censored. I feel much more comfortable there, and I am broadcasting on YouTube today just to catch in more of you guys and say, come on over to Rumble. But
you're only 100 away from your 1,000 goal.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't even got to 1,000 yet. And, you know, I used to have 12,000 on my first YouTube channel.
Yeah.
So it's been a long time trying to rebuild. But YouTube is no good for me because they gave me a strike 2 weeks ago for absolutely no reason. And I just said, oh, the hell with it. I can't fight them. They're going to do what they're going to do. But there is this question of now that President Trump has announced that the government is not going to allow the government to censor anymore. If we understand that the censorship that's gone on in YouTube has been inspired by the government, specifically by the Defense Department as part of their military response to COVID and whatever else they're doing under the cover of that military response, that now perhaps YouTube will no longer have a reason to suppress my first 2 channels and I could get them back. Wouldn't that be beautiful to get all that work back that I lost?
That would be amazing. That would be very amazing. I don't know. I don't see that happening.
Oh, it could. It could. If Bobby gets in. I mean, they'd have a hard time defending a case, I think. We'll see.
We'll see.
You know, I'm not one to go to court anymore. I just don't want to do it. You know, 30 years ago, I would have said, I'm filing suit against YouTube right now. I could think of lots of good theories that I could force them to give me my channel back. But I don't have that time and the energy for it anymore.
Well, right. And, you know, a company like YouTube has so many resources available to them. You'd be taking on an army of attorneys.
Okay, more birds. The Detroit birds is the answer. Mobster. And here's David going to give us his view. The bird organization is my Virginia placeholder for Fort Belvoir Army of Northern Virginia's. And we've talked about this Army of Northern Virginia before with George Webb, you know, years ago when he was first learning how to say Fort Belvoir. And I don't
How else would you say
I don't think he's got it yet.
Oh, really?
No. Anyway, that's right across the river from here, by the way. And, you know.
Not from here, but from our community, a little bit upriver.
A few miles up.
Yeah. Yeah. It's right across the river from our military facility over there in Indian Head.
Yeah, we got more military facilities around us, man. If they ever decide to bomb America, you know, they're going to hit us first because, I mean, within 50 miles of here, there's got to be 20 major military
More than
bases.
that. I made a map once when I was working in economic development, and that was part of our pitch, was that our community is right smack dab in the middle of a gajillion military facilities. And I made a map showing them, and it was almost impossible to show them all within the, I think it was 100 miles though, but there are so many, because there's a bunch of little ones that nobody, like Blossom Point. There's another military facility in our community that nobody ever talks about. Of course, only 5 people work there, but
you know what? I did a bit of investigation of Blossom Point, 6 years ago, when I was working with George Webb.
Yeah.
And he was explaining about the container, the railroad container missiles.
Yes.
David will remember the name of the missiles, but it was like, they built a missile now, and they can put it in a box, and that box is a boxcar that can be transported by rail and then taken off and put on a truck and run somewhere. Well, I was fooling around with Google overhead views of and I saw down there a whole bunch of blue trucks that looked exactly like the ones that George was talking about.
Yeah.
And I thought, that is so interesting. And I could just imagine, that somebody, knows that they're there, and if they needed to, they could. But then I'm just speculating. But who knows what's going on in Blossom Point or Indian Head or Pax River or any of the other ones.
Right. Well, one of the things about Blossom Point itself is their activity isn't all that secret. They're a big empty space where people can go and blow things up to test the explosives that the Army is developing, or that the military, because the Navy uses it too. The folks from Indian Head use it. But the one that's so secretive, Blossom Point, is the NASA listening facility. They have a huge listening facility there that's very, very top secret.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where all those containers were.
Oh, okay. All right.
Anyway, moving back to now.
Yeah, Brightmore, get back to the hearings. The format is always to ask the final question without sufficient time for the candidate to answer.
Yeah.
Yeah. What it was to me, it was like being in a trial in which the cross-examination gets to go first.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you're trying, the opposite. The point is not to find the facts. The point is to badger the witness.
Right. It's all spin. It's all total spin.
So I couldn't,
on behalf of your sponsors.
And I couldn't look at it very much. That is not, lawyering. That is,
that is the frustration, because I don't want to learn about it through somebody's interpretation, through the media's interpretation, whether it's one side or the other. I just want to make my own judgment. But instead of telling me what somebody said, they do have a tendency, all the media have a tendency to summarize. But when they summarize, they put their own agenda into it. And he falsely stated that blah, blah, blah. Well, it's false according to you. But, if you're going to start putting adverbs like falsely in front of his words, then you have to explain to me how it's false. But they don't, of course, do that. But it's very frustrating. But I don't want, like we were talking about, you have to listen to hours of blah, 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 just to get the few nuggets that are meaningful. And who can do that?
Well, a great example of it was what I was looking at right before the show. Remember, we were talking about Bobby Kennedy's testimony and how he was being challenged on whether he did or did not say something about SV40.
Right.
And I, of course, being somebody that studies SB40 with a great intensity, thought, oh, that's interesting. What did he say about SV40? And, then has he contradicted himself? And so I went to Google it, And the first thing that comes up is something called factcheck.org. And so I thought, okay, let's see what they say. And among other things, what they said was that he said, and they quoted him saying that SV40 is carcinogenic. It's one of the most carcinogenic
Yes.
materials out there, and they've been using it to create tumors in guinea pigs and so forth. And then the next text after that is how we have explained many times how SV40, a virus particle that got in some of the polio vaccine in the 50s, has not been shown to cause cancer. And they're just, and so they just basically spend the rest of their article talking about how the idea that SV40 causes cancer has been completely, quashed, and it's just not true at all. And to put that out there and let it be the first thing that people find on Google when you ask a question, it's obviously part of the narrative that they're trying to maintain, but it's been debunked already. It's been debunked in numerous medical articles, and in the official articles of journals of high repute among the medical community. But still, they're saying that he's lying, or that he's wrong, or he doesn't know what he's talking about, just because he said that. But now, more recently, they've tried to corner him later, and he said something that they may have some basis to say, well, he's contradicted himself. But this is just another example of them cross-examining him with a prepackaged set of tools that they've got from their press people that
they take out of context.
Yeah.
Because he did talk about SV40 and SV40 being carcinogenic, but he also said, I support polio vaccines. This week he said that.
Yeah.
But the polio vaccines that we have today are very different from the original polio vaccines that were developed with SV40. And nobody's talking about that. You can say I support polio vaccines and still have talked about SV40 being carcinogenic. Those are not two contradictory statements, but they're being presented as if they are.
Corky's been down to Maryland, but out on the Eastern Shore. Easton, it's a beautiful little town.
Mm-hmm.
Brightmoor, hello. Russia's Prosecutor General's office has declared the activities of the Satanic Temple, a U.S. registered international organization, undesirable. Okay. Well, I'm glad to hear that. I declare them undesirable too. There we go. David knows all the answers. Club K, Lockheed Martin. Lockheed was Detroit Aircraft until 1931.
Wow.
There's Detroit for you.
Boy, and the evolution of that corporation, because then it became Lockheed Martin. Was that before Martin Marietta or after, maybe when they took on Martin Marietta? They merged
with Martin Marietta.
And they became Lockheed Martin, and then they became Lockheed. And then they got bought out by somebody. Who did they get? Because I don't think Lockheed exists anymore. Or maybe it's hard to keep up.
Lockheed was the briber of the Prince Bernhard scandal. The Dutch prince that was doing the underhanded deals, and closet Nazi at that. Remember the Khashoggi 1 airplane? How could we forget the Khashoggi 1 airplane? Trump bought the Nabalia, the super yacht, with the Pleasure Wives, Safari Club trolls hardest. Well, the Khashoggi 1 airplane was the subject of our amusement and astonishment and our befuddlement as to what the hell was going on. I I might have noticed it first. The idea that they were taking what is it, 747, I think?
I don't remember.
But anyway, I know what it was. I was looking into chemtrails and Evergreen Airlines out of Washington State, where George knows a lot about them. And so we did a lot of work on Evergreen Airlines and what are they doing? And it's the CIA thing, CIA cover, and they fly troops here and there, and who knows what kind of crap in their holds while they're flying. But it's a mystery that we were looking into. But then it turns out that this 747 was formerly an Evergreen Airlines plane.
Airplane, yeah.
Yeah, and it was parked up in New York at a small airfield, and some investors, I think they were like Jewish rabbi types in Brooklyn or something, and invested in this airplane, and they fixed it up. They hired people to paint it up, and inside they built the White House
Air Force One.
Air Force One.
Yeah.
And so they put it on a barge and towed it all the way down the East Coast, and then it had to come up the Potomac River. And of course, it goes right by where we live. So we're out there with cameras taking pictures.
You, me, and George, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it was ridiculous. And then they brought it up to National Harbor and put it on a pedestal there. And
there it sat for months and months while people paid $50 a head to go tour this Air Force One.
Which I don't think very many people even did. But because what it was there for was for Hillary. Because she was supposed to win. And
what did the plane do for Hillary? That connection I didn't know about.
Oh, I think it was just, it's not a connection. I'm just a speculation that the whole thing was coordinated with the Hillary campaign.
Oh, okay.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Who knows? What year was that? 2017?
I don't even know. It had to have been later than that because I don't remember. It was 18, 19, somewhere along in through there. But anyway,
one day
I was
driving home from D.C. and I saw that they were taking Khashoggi 1 down piece by piece with cranes. And I pulled off the road and went down there and took a picture. It was like, that was kind of sad. The end of an era. All right. Enough about that.
Yes, indeed. You're not going to get to all the comments.
I know. That's a good one. Bill Gates' father-in-law was a senior vice president of Lockheed Martin.
I'd forgotten about that. Yep, that rings a bell.
And David only listens to fact checkers supported by Walter Annenberg. Well, the Annenberg Project, it'd be such good people, to put all that ill-gotten money into a public education broadcasting service. It really is the story of our times, that all of these people that just happen to fall into a whole bunch of illegally gotten money do all these wonderful things for us. But of course, David knows more about that than I do. Walter Annenberg, yeah. Well, the connection to David and I did a number of shows on these photos of the insiders of the time, and one of the pictures is with I don't want to waste time talking about an old picture that we did, but we did some shows on that about 3 years ago about those particular rich folks. Lamar Hunt led the creation of underground facilities, subtopolises in Kansas City and Denver. Yeah, Denver. You remember the secret, the airport? Maybe that was even before you and I met. Was a story about Denver Airport being a secret portal to underground cities that
Yeah, that must have been before. I've never heard this.
Oh yeah.
How interesting.
Oh, this is the Nazis. Yeah, this is the Nazis built it, and they put up these crazy apocalyptic statues around. Like a pale horse with a rider on it, and it's just really a lot of stuff to say to you. Here we are. We're down here. The Freemasonic symbolism is everywhere, and there's a plaque that's basically is saying that the Freemasons designed the place. So Denver, and then Jesse Ventura used to go out and find these underground cave systems and drive around in them in his big SUV, and just say, well, look, right here we are. Well, I can't do his voice.
Okay.
Dave, Karma Doc's here. Hello, my friend. Karma. Oh, God. Dave, I have season sickest for years, so I'm with you. Oh. And that's the classic cross-examination question.
Mm-hmm.
TGIF, yes. I'll drink to that.
Well, I think it would be a little bit hypocritical of me because I'm recently retired, so I'm still basking in the every day is Friday glow.
Yes, you are. You are blossoming in so many ways. It's great to see. You've been, what was it, 2 years ago you retired now?
Mm-hmm.
And you're finally settling down a little bit.
Sort of. I still don't want to know what I want to be when I grow up.
Oh, I think you're doing it. All right. Barry and Jason Hansen were magic. Loved Spielman too. Oh, now see, that's why I didn't watch sports, and so I don't know these names.
Yep.
Boy, I can say Al Kaline and Mickey Lawlich, though.
Which mean nothing to me.
Dave knows. Road Warrior, how you been? Good to hear from you. Belvoir means beautiful view in French. Belvoir. I worked there my entire career for the U.S. Army. That's great. I'm so glad to hear this. The Black Hawk the day before flew out of Davidson Airfield. It's being reported. Wow. So
is Davidson Airfield part of Belvoir?
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
Yeah. It was like the original part of it. The fort kind of built around it. The U.S. Army fort that was built in the 30s or 20s or so. But that I'm so glad to know this because I was just thinking last night that I've never gone into Fort Belvoir because where I want to go, I think it's now the Officers Club, but it is the spot where the Americans, the Virginia militia, placed cannons to fire at the British ships that were escaping from Alexandria
after burning everything.
After going to Alexandria and they stole all the ships. They stole all the flour and things that they wanted from Alexandria.
Right. They burned Washington, and then they went to Alexandria and said, "Give us all your flour and supplies, or we'll burn you too."
And the Alexandrians, of course, they said sure. So anyway, there's all of these, the British squadron, and with all of their prize ships, has to go back down to Potomac to get back out into the Chesapeake Bay because they're part of the
on their way to Baltimore.
They got to go to Baltimore to support the attack on Fort McHenry. But before they can get there, they have to go through a couple of gauntlets that are set up by the Americans. And one of them is a battery of artillery that is right on that point at Fort Belvoir, from which they attempted to shoot. And there was an amazing battle between I think it was Commodore Gordon's ship, and the artillery up on the hill, because the ships were not able to aim their cannon up. But what the captain, the British captain, did was he said, "Okay, we're going to roll. Everybody's going over to this side of the ship." And they put everything that they could on the lower side of the ship so that the ship tilted up enough. And then once they got the ship, this is a 38 gun frigate, right?
Yeah.
So once they got their, they had 16, probably 15, 16 guns on the side. Once they had them all pointed up at the 3 or 4 American artillery pieces, the battle was over, and the Americans had to withdraw. But they slowed them down enough to get them screwed up on some reefs that they had to get past later. More you want to tell?
Well, because they were on the other side at Indian Head. I mean, that's part of Indian Head history too, the military facility at Indian Head.
Right.
They were on the other side, and it was some famous naval officer, Perry.
It was Commodore Perry.
Commodore Perry, right. And he was over there at Indian Head, and then there was firing from the other side.
And on the Virginia side, that was commanded by Admiral Porter. And Admiral Porter, had marched all of the Marines from Philadelphia down to the Potomac, and they were able to support the Virginia militia from the Virginia side, while hopefully our friends down here with Oliver Hazard Perry at Indian Head were able to stop the British from there. And they did slow them down, and the British lost a ship or two on the shoals that are very dangerous right around there.
Yeah.
And let's move on, because I don't want to use the whole show on that.
But before you move on, we're talking about this Black Hawk, and that's an issue too that has happened this week, is this Black Hawk helicopter that crashed with that horrible crash that crashed into the Potomac River, and all the questions that are coming around about that. Anyway. A very huge tragedy, very sad. But, I keep wondering what happened. Why did those two crash? I mean, they could clearly see each other. And in fact, I read this morning, which I had not read before, that the airplane did bank. It banked to the right, according to some witness. But it wasn't soon enough. And then they still crashed.
I just saw the latest video that's come out, and it is awful. You can see that the plane's coming down the Potomac towards the airport, and the helicopter is going up the Potomac towards the plane. And the helicopter just, without changing speed or altering anything, it just goes right straight into the plane. It's like it was trying to hit the plane. There's no other way that I can explain it, unless the plane was taken over by some computer program and was driven, or the pilot had a medical event or something.
Well, the plane was coming in to land on the long runway, the north-south runway. And at the last minute, the controller, who was dealing with both the plane and the helicopter, which normally isn't supposed to happen, and he does that, or she, on other different frequencies. But anyway, the controller tells the plane they're going to change runways and go to the shorter runway, which is more of a southeast-northwest orientation. So the plane veers a little bit to the east to, over Anacostia, to line up with this other runway.
Yeah.
And then as it's going into this other runway, that's when the collision happened.
Yeah.
Unimaginable, but I mean, so many questions, and I wonder if we'll ever know.
And it was reported that this was a continuation of government exercise. The pilot apparently they need to have training hours. You have to have so many hours, and this pilot was up there apparently just for training. Scary that they train so close to the most busy airport around here, but they do. The continuation of government aspect of it ties directly to Dick Cheney and Donald Rumsfeld and all of the those Raven Rock and all of the uh, basically military takeover that they have in the plans for. They're all ready for.
Mm-hmm.
And so I can't discount the idea that this may have been, an intentional attack to further the need in our country for a military takeover.
Very sad. Yeah. And, as you have seen, and there were a handful of people on that plane from our community.
There were, yes, we lost. I think there were 7 guys that were going on a
Hunting trip.
hunting and
Yeah.
fishing trip.
4 of them were from Charles County.
Yeah, terrible loss, and gosh, and then that was it a skating team? I think there were
there were tons of
Russian
skaters.
girls that were
No. The Russians were a married couple, an older married couple,
okay,
who are now coaches, and they were on that plane. But also there were a bunch of young people, like teenagers, who were coming back from a competition in Kansas, and so they were also on that plane. So
yeah,
yeah,
there's a tragic picture going around of them, like a picture of them happy and smiling all together. And Brightmore, a senator, also asked Bobby a question about Lyme disease. Of course, along with SV40, Lyme disease is something that we study here at McDuff Lives.
Talk about it.
Bobby's
time or two.
children have been affected by Lyme disease. I didn't know that.
I did not know that either.
I saw him saying that yesterday. I posted a comment about Adam's book. Yeah.
Great.
Maybe Bobby might have an investigation. Yeah, it's so interesting. There's so many other people out there talking about this stuff that it tends to bury an independent, self-financed author like A.W. Finnegan under all of the, chaff, the stuff that's out there and looks sensible, and other authors that take up all the space. And so he's like a flower that's not being allowed to bloom because he's covered up with weeds and mulch and old stuff.
Right. That's a nice metaphor.
Yeah, but he's unstoppable. He's absolutely unstoppable. By the way, he's now the marketing manager at Trine Day Books.
Nice. Congratulations, Adam.
And he loves it. And all of the great authors that are published by Chris Milligan at Trine Day Books, he's getting to know them all. And it's a fabulous opportunity for Adam and also for Trine Day. So
yes.
Congratulations, Chris and Adam and everybody at Trine Day. We love you guys.
And just to help Brightmore finish the sentence, it was maybe Bobby might have an investigation under his sleeve.
That's right, Corky. He does. Hello, Prester John, Sky High Airlines. I don't remember them. You remember them?
Mm-mm.
Yes, more about Belvoir. It's so interesting. The Fort Belvoir site was originally the home of William Fairfax, the cousin and land agent of Thomas Fairfax, the 6th Lord Fairfax of Cameron. And that's important because that gives him the Fairfax Grant.
Yes.
And the Fairfax Grant is the entire northern neck of Virginia, all the way up to where the Potomac River, it's one of the sources of the Potomac River. I can't remember which one, but anyway, it's just huge.
Well, the Potomac River is the whole northern border of Virginia.
It's this huge swath of Virginia that goes
all of northern Virginia and then some. Yeah. It was huge. It was like a gajillion acres.
And very, very historic spot in that respect as well. Yeah. Probably an Indian village for centuries before that, because a good spot of land is a good spot of land.
Right. And right on the river was important to them.
Hello, Carol. Carol MM is here. The 747 was early 2020. That's right. Yeah. I've still got some videos from that, and still got all those images shooting the picture of the planes being towed on a barge down the middle of the river. It was ridiculous. K&L Gates. Yeah, the Gates, man, this is another part of this is the narrative under attack, right? The Gates is part of the narrative. If they lose Gates, they lose the whole narrative about vaccines and COVID and all that.
Mm-hmm.
So they've got to defend Gates like crazy. But I think Gates is not looking good right now. NASA's OSIRIS-REx has returned samples from the asteroid Bennu. Samples indicating the building blocks for life. All right.
That's interesting.
Isn't it fun how they all take these Egyptian or Babylonian or Greek or Roman?
Well, the one that our nephew
gods.
is working on, Psyche.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's on Psyche, which is that launched sometime in the fall of 23, and it's on a mission to the asteroid Psyche.
And they want us, but they want us all to bring those ancient gods into our consciousness.
Into our psyche.
Yeah. Oh.
Sorry.
No. You get 2 credits for that. 2 points.
Yay.
We love that. If you could get Nicole Shanahan to buy some copies of the Sleeper Agent by A.W. Finnegan, we could really run with it. That'd be terrific. E.R. Carmadoc. Hello, John. Glad you're doing well. I'm glad I'm doing well. Thank you for that. I feel great. I'll tell you something personal. Since I got my diagnosis, I had the performance in La Boheme up in New Jersey. I didn't feel great about all the driving, and I was exhausted and really tired most of the time. So I've stopped doing any performing. But I've been feeling so good that when I saw a audition this week for a role I'd really always wanted to play, I said, you know what? Maybe I'll go and audition, can't do any harm. So I did, and I'm glad I did. I feel like, it's good to be back on stage, if you enjoy performing, and I obviously do. So it was fun. I don't think that the part's appropriate for me, but it was really fun. So who knows what else will come along, and you might see me out there auditioning for other things.
That would be fun. Yeah, you do love the stage.
Jealous of the retirement glow. Oh, you're right.
Oh.
Yeah, both of us, right?
That's right.
Yeah, we are. We're doing very well. And to me, the help I've gotten from Karma Doc, and from Nick Petoskey, from Carol, and from
Kathy Sue,
and from Tara, Tara Starr. Yeah. And
a lot of good people.
Absolutely. See, David knows Al Kaline. Al Kaline's son was my mom's first grade student in Franklin, Michigan. See? Mr. Detroit. Detroit Dave, that's what we used to call him. Detroit Dave. Trump wants to fill Guantanamo with 30,000 illegal immigrants. Yeah, I think the worst of the worst, if they, that's what they're planning on. It's incredible how many convicted felons that were allowed to come into this country under the Biden administration, and the ones that were the murderers and the violent criminals. I think Guantanamo is a good place for them. Pyramids, yeah. I always want to remind people that in Israel, I think it's called the Justice Building, where they have the court building, has a pyramid on top of it. It's creepy, and it fits in with the whole idea of this whole British Zionism being a Freemasonic idea. And so if people don't believe it, just look at an aerial photo, you'll see a pyramid sitting right up on top.
Oh my.
Yeah. Well, there's some good news. 1994 world champs. Oh boy, Fort Hunt. You can get me talking on Fort Hunt, my friend. That was one of the first things that George and I worked on together, because he didn't know anything about Reinhard Gehlen. He didn't know anything about Fort Hunt or the supposed Gehlen agreement. And so we worked on that for some time. Absolutely. Fort Hunt is still there, but all the buildings that they built to house the Nazis and the whole facilities that they built, they took that all down. But the old fort is part of the chain of forts that was built in the 1890s to supposedly defend Washington against a attack up the Potomac River. And so you can still see the barracks and the gun emplacements and things. And right across the river from Fort Washington, Maryland, a similar place that also has a history in the War of 1812, and also has those 7 different gun batteries with barracks and things. It's interesting. I grew up within walking distance of it. And so as a kid, I was all over Fort Washington. And so Fort Hunt is got tons of history too.
Yeah, the German POWs were also held in Charles County.
Yeah, no, this is not this is not common POWs at Fort Hunt, though. These are like generals and people that they were, nursing into become what became the BND, the German Bundesnachrichtendienst. The German Secret Service, which was Nazis. All because Alan Dulles set it all up. Okay, I read about that, did I? So yeah, I think he was wearing an American uniform in order to be cool, when he was imported from Germany into the U.S.
Yuck.
Creepy story.
Ugh.
I was just watching a interview on the Trine Days social media. I think it's called The Journey or something like that. But it was all about John Loftus's new edition of the Belarus Secret. That's called America's Nazi Secret. And it's John Loftus just describing how he had written all about all these things. And the first edition of the book, which I have, was censored heavily. But in the second edition, it was beyond the time when his covenant not to spilled the beans, ran out or something. And so I need to get a copy of that. But he was talking about, the real details. And basically he said, yeah, Reinhard Gehlen was convenient. The deep state, had a use for him. And what he says that use for him was that they could blame the rat lines on him. But they were the ones that were running the rat lines. He was just a whipping boy to take the blame. The people that were importing, the Nazis by the tens of thousands. That's the CIA. This is the
scapegoat.
Yeah, this is the northeastern liberals and the California.
Right.
All of that. They didn't get blamed because they could just say, well, this is, Reinhard Gehlen did it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I have to get all my old shows up somehow. I think I've probably got some Fort Hunt shows still available on my drive somewhere. Bobby was grilled on his supposed plan to gut the NIH. Trump told CDC to immediately cease partnership activities with the WHO. The political scientists are very worried about actual scientists. That's a good one. Mobster wants to be on the Bacchus expedition. Okay. And hey, Paulie, thanks for checking in. I was glad to see you. Carol wants to do, Carol wants to
move McDuff
to Arlington. I do want to do that myself. And of course, you've been helping me. We sent me some forms and everything to do it. And I guess I've just been hesitant for family reasons or other reasons, but I think it's probably time. Probably time. It would certainly get some attention.
Right.
And,
it would be nice.
Yes. We went to Marcia's relatives' burial at Arlington Cemetery about 2 years ago. Very, very nice, solemn, just completely appropriate resting place for our heroes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, NASA, even the emblems they use, everything can be tied to astrology, satanic astrology, Babylon. Okay, it's back to Al Kaline. Oh my. I can't remember who Garden Prang is, but I remember he's a big guy some time ago. How many recognize the serpent's tongue? There you go. And the Ouroboros in NASA's logo. Well, I didn't until somebody pointed it out to me, but I do see it now. All right. Hal Kaline is getting all of the hits today. Is the Babe Ruth or Mickey Mantle of the Detroit Tigers. And Joe DiMaggio married Marilyn Monroe. Zionism, plain old Western hegemony with a slightly different flavor. Yeah. Well, I could expand upon that, but we're running out of time.
Yeah, it's oh my goodness, it's 12. Flies by.
Camp King connects Lockheed, Gehlen, Dulles, Kissinger, Gottlieb, and Goering. BND and CIA, later by Crypto AG. We got to talk about Crypto AG again. I think, David, it's once again, it's very important. we're trying to figure out who's running things behind the scenes, but the people that owned crypto AG or that got access to the data, they were reading the secret communications of everybody. Talk about a great way to make money and conquer countries. Have the key to crypto AG encryption, and you're gonna win every time. All right, we're just gonna go through these. Make a record for folks. You can slow down and catch the records later and jump into the rat holes. All right, Marcia, what else we got to talk about here in the last 60 seconds?
Well, don't know. We've covered an awful lot today.
I am very hopeful that all three candidates will be confirmed. I am somewhat optimistic that we'll learn the truth about the Black Hawk helicopter disaster. And I am still very, very nervous about things like technocracy, the satellites, the brain chips, the idea that this future is inevitable. But on the other hand, as I said on my Twitter today, thank you to everybody who has been pitching in to uncover, the Fabian socialist agenda. And as it gets exposed, then the inevitability of it disappears and we can reclaim our future, which, as far as I know, is still spotless.
Nice. That's a nice note to end on. Have a good weekend, everybody.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye now. We'll see you Monday.